Welcome to North Star Physical Therapy Podcast. I'm Dr. Shirlea North, and with over a decade of clinical expertise in the areas of pelvic floor conditions, lymphatic conditions, and chronic neurological diseases, I have a wealth of medical knowledge that I want to share with you all. In this podcast, I will answer the most common questions I receive from clients, family members, and fellow clinicians. Our purpose is not only to answer questions, but to educate you so you can make the best decision for your optimal health. This podcast is perfect to listen on your way home from work, while you're on your daily walk, or just taking 15 to 20 minutes for yourself. Again, welcome to North Star Physical Therapy Podcast, and get ready for us to guide you to optimal health. And welcome to North Star Physical Therapy Podcast, and welcome to all those that are new to the podcast, and for those that are returning, I just thank you so much. This podcast is an amazing accumulation and just a reflection of this year. We're recording this in December, and I just cannot believe here we are in December 2025. It has been a whirlwind of events here in the Northern Virginia, DC metro area this year, just to say that politely, starting from the very beginning and coming all the way up here towards the end. So just end of year thoughts is really what I'm kind of theming this as we started the year off, and then like kind of new year, new you, which we will definitely do for our next podcast. But I really just want to take this time to really reflect on what this year has really done for growth and what are some areas to improve. And I just really encourage everybody to do that the same, not just for your physical health, but also emotional and mental and financial and social and all the different aspects of our lives. It's really helpful to just take that time to do that. But time is often the thing that we stress out the most. Like, we just don't have enough time to do all these things. But finding those little moments throughout your day can really help with that. And that's going to be a kind of underlying theme of today's podcast, of really looking at preparing for these holidays, preparing for all the excitement, the travel, the being with family and friends, but that can also cause a lot of stress. There's good stress and bad stress. There isn't ever a stress-free life. That's just not a thing. And that's not something that's realistic. But really how these external and potentially transitioning to internal stressors can really increase the exacerbation of your symptoms. And so here we are in the beginning of December. We've been able to, get through, Thanksgiving, for those that celebrate like Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and Christmas, and getting into the new year. Like, it is like jam-packed full of holidays. We did Halloween, you got, Thanksgiving, you got, all the other December holidays we just mentioned. And so that can be really stressful for those that have kiddos. This is like, the end of the year. They're trying to jam pack a lot of like the projects and the tests and the activities that they're involved with, extracurricular things. There are the concerts, there's the tournaments, there's, performances, there's all sorts of stuff that happen between like October and December. I swear, like those last 3 months of the year are just insane. Right? And so I see this overwhelming feeling, literally, of being overwhelmed and stressed out with almost all of my clients. And I also see that for myself too, of, oh my gosh, like, I wonder why some of these little symptoms haven't quite like gone away, or we feel like we've kind of plateaued in our symptoms, and how some of these external stressors, we're not doing a good job of managing that. And so taking those few moments throughout the day to help regulate that nervous system, to bring things back down a little bit, is really helpful for symptom management. So we talk about this with pelvic and lymphatic health. So within the pelvis, it is one of the only muscle groups, not including, your cardiac muscle group as well as your pelvic muscles. Those two muscle groups are really the only muscle groups within the human body that have automatic nervous system input. Think about that. And your cardiac muscle is actually cellularly down to the fibers, structurally a little different than the skeletal muscle of the pelvic floor. But think about what happens there, right? There's like the automatic heartbeat, and firing there. Okay. Within the pelvis, it's the automatic and anticipatory contraction when we are about to sneeze or laugh or cough. The pelvic floor muscles contract, but they also will relax when we are having a bowel movement, when we are voiding, when there is some stimulation for relaxation, for sexual intercourse. Like things like that happen automatically. We don't really have that bond, we don't voluntarily be like, oh, gotta contract. We may need to be trained to do that, but it's amazing how our nervous system kind of automatically starts to do that for us. However, when we introduce external stressors, or we're super anxious about something, or we're in pain, our muscles keep the score. They maybe will guard, and therefore now these stressors are being linked to exacerbation of symptoms. And within this holiday season, we absolutely see that where it's like, well, I'm not doing, as much maybe like physical activity. And so we're not getting as much strengthening and or flexibility there. Or, we're getting anxious with like the potential travel. And especially right now with the state of airline travel here, it's a little crazy. We're worried about, can we get to our flight on time? That's just like normal, not to mention all the other stuff on top of it with government things. But it's stressful. And so that's where I take the time to talk with my clients of, okay, what's coming up, right? What are some tools within our toolbox that we can start to implement of regulating our nervous system? Or, if we need to implement things like a stool softener or maybe a little more fiber because we know we have the nervous shits, like things like that we can really start grabbing a hold now and preparing a little better for those holidays. And that's just like with pelvic health. With lymphatic health, when we have an increased stress, we have increased cortisol being released, we have increased inflammatory process happening. Therefore, now there's a fluid overload to our lymphatic system, and now we can potentially get a little more swelling and feel more like heavy and bogged down, not to mention all the nice, salty, sweet, yummy food that we're about to enjoy. And to really talk to people about, okay, what are some ways that we can get some active stress management involved? And so again, taking that time. So that time we really do. If you have enough time to binge watch a show on Netflix, you have enough time to regulate your nervous system. If you have enough time to go walk your dog multiple times a day, you have enough time to regulate your nervous system. If you have a commute to and from work, you have enough time to regulate your nervous system. If you have enough time to take a daily shower, you have enough time to regulate your nervous system. I just listed off a few moments of your day that you can regulate your nervous system, or take a moment during those times to be like, okay, I need to breathe. I need to freaking breathe. I maybe need to have a mindfulness moment. Is there a certain mantra? Or again, that mindfulness, is there a distraction I can do? Or do I really need to kind of be more aware of what's going on with my own body because I'm so distracted? There are people that I work with that are on both ends of that spectrum, where we have to introduce some distractions. Say, because you're so wound up, I want you to go take a walk. Go outside. Or go take a lap around the office. Or get up and go to the bathroom, right? Or we need to introduce this distraction. There are other folks, however, that they are so distracted. I need them to focus. Every time you stand up, I want you to kind of reset your posture. Every time you get up, go to the bathroom, come back, adjust your work chair. So it's now accommodating to your posture instead of you trying to find the support. that is what having a full 1 hour individualized session at North Star Physical Therapy looks like. We really dive deep into that contributing factor of the nervous system. We really prepare what are some tools and techniques we can try, see if they work, see if we're able to implement it within our busy day. And then that way, when we have a known upcoming event or travel or, holiday, that we can really manage that so that there isn't as much or at all of an exacerbation of whatever symptom you may have. So I just really encourage those that, whether you have symptoms or not, it's like, just take a peek at am I starting to kind of get wound up, and why? And then are there moments within my day that I can take that deep breath, take that walk, just get up and kind of, shake it out a little bit, or just move my position throughout the day. Things like that. Or can I do a quick little stretch? Can I, when I'm eating, maybe I'm not just scarfing down my face, eating that food so fast. Let me just take a moment in between each bite and swallow, so that way I can actually enjoy this lunch and isn't just being shoved down, and all of a sudden all the stuff needs to be digested all at once, and that's why my bowels are upset later on. So that's where I really challenge all you listeners to just take a quick peek and look in, maybe in the drive to work or from work, or to dropping off your kiddo at an event or picking them up. It's turn off the radio, right? Put down the phone. You want to focus on driving for sure, but if you're at that stoplight, there's at least 30 seconds to a minute where it's let me just hold in on that, or maybe let me just take maybe 2 or 3 good deep breaths and just not think about anything, or just focus on that breath. Breathing is an amazing tool that we have several different techniques to breathing, but I just want you guys to just focus on that. We are inhaling, we're expanding our ribs, opening up that belly, softening up that belly a little bit. When we exhale, it's maybe a passive exhale, or if we're working on some more core control, you can do a little bit more of a forced exhale without putting any pressure down into your pelvis. And just relax and be in that moment. And it's amazing when we just do that with my clients, when they come in the door and they're and they're just going 60 miles an hour, right? 120 miles an hour. I'm do me a favor. We're just going to take some 3 really good deep breaths, whatever that may mean to you right now. And let's just do that. And it is amazing that almost every single person that I do that with, their voice volume changes, the speed of their talk changes. They don't have 1,000 thoughts going on. They may have that, but what's being said and expressed is a little bit more clear, right? And that is just helpful. I always think of that for myself when I'm with clients, right? I need to regulate myself as a clinician in between each client, because I'm giving my all to every client, and I need to make sure I'm doing that for myself as a clinician. But then as a working mom as well, when I leave here, I'm doing my own little detox, deconditioning, just to relax and just rethink of, work is at work. I'm preparing to go back home. I have 3 crazy dogs at home. I'm going to make sure I get them out. I got my kids and all their activities and preparing for the evening events. It's we need to have these little moments throughout the day where we can help, not necessarily compartmentalize, but just to put stuff on the back burner and, what is the priority now? And to be able to go through a day with managing those stress levels as it comes through, so that it isn't such an exacerbation of maybe my pelvic pain, an exacerbation of that urgency with urination, that exacerbation with fecal incontinence, that exacerbation with pain with intercourse. It's not that exacerbation increases swelling or joint pain or any of that stuff, right? So I really want to have you guys challenge yourself during this holiday season of what is triggering me, what are my tags with increasing that stressor, and what I can do to manage it. Could there be something really little and really simple that I can implement, little bursts throughout my day that can help keep that even keel? I'm not saying everybody's like kumbaya or go grab, some medication, anything like that. If you need that support, it's obviously there. Talking to your mental health therapist. What are some specific techniques to you? Therapists need therapists. Right? I think it's wonderful that we have like the physical aspect, but then also the mental behavioral health aspect. So as this year coming to a close, we have all gone through a lot this year in our personal lives, in our professional lives, in our family life, and all the aspects of our lives. And so as we're coming up to a close, really be able to go back and reflect, what are some good things that occurred? What are some areas to improve? What are some methods of some stress relievers that I can do throughout the holiday season, but then continuing on with that good habit so that any of my pelvic or lymphatic symptoms can be well managed even during those stressful times. I can't tell you how many clients can kind of figure out what works best for them. They go on a trip or something, and they come back, and it's like, how did it go? Were you able to implement those things? And almost every single one of my clients that were able to actually do that, they're like, I can do this. And you empower yourself with being able to really manage symptoms, or if we're able to resolve the symptoms with treatment, which is every client, we're able to resolve those symptoms, but I want to help build up that resiliency within your system. So if there is this stressor, if there is, a potential change in things, you have the tools in your toolbox to manage through that time. And so that way you can be like, yep, I'm consciously being able to manage these potential triggers for these symptoms. And if there is an exacerbation of a symptom, look back, hey, was I being diligent about doing those stress management techniques? And that's really what I call them. I call them active stress management, because you actively need to take part in it. Okay. It isn't just such a passive thing. It's like, quote unquote, passive income. There's no real passive income. There is something active that you have to do or think about or decide, right? There's some activity level there. So same thing with stress management. Okay. So at the end of the year here we are at the end of 2025. My personal and professional reflection here is professionally, I was able to, expand, grow my team to include an admin, which she's been wonderful, and being able for me to delegate things to, for her to refine and really help the growth of North Star Physical Therapy. And that was a huge decision that I made as a small business owner. And wouldn't take it back. That was extremely helpful. I was able to finally achieve some business goals of getting out into the community, being able to do more things for my local area here and spread the word about pelvic and lymphatic health. Be able to connect and network with other individuals and professionals that have like-minded attitude towards that, which was fantastic. And then personally really be able to grow, with my family as my two kiddos are getting older, and they are maturing into, one's going to be going into middle school next year and one's in high school. So it's exciting times, and God bless us all for puberty on the horizon here. So speaking of active stress management, I'm definitely going to have to be incorporating that within my day with these two teenagers. And then also, we were able to really grow in our home, and we were able to move into a single family home, which was a massive personal goal for my husband and I. And we were able to achieve that this year. And so that was from all the hard work over the years, and being able to take the leap of faith and to go for it. And so moving is a very stressful time for sure, and able to really, all right, we're going to hone in on some of these active stress management, hitting the gym maybe a little bit more, and taking some daily walks, things like that. And so we were able to really do that. Looking back, it was a little crazy going through the process, but looking back, it's like, you know what, we handled it pretty darn well. There were definitely some things within this year that have areas to improve for sure. But that's why there's a new year. And so it's very exciting times. Here in Virginia, we're going to be swearing in a brand new governor, the first female governor. So it's very exciting, new times here. And I'm excited to see, hopefully, with how the state of healthcare is now. We might be having a podcast in the beginning of the year on, what does it really mean to be an in-network and out-of-network clinician, and what does that mean as the consumer of healthcare as we move forward in this time. So we're going to see what kind of policy changes are going to be happening for 2026. But I just really encourage all of you guys to take this moment. Think about this year. Take that moment during your commute, during your walk, during that 5 minutes in the bathroom, in the as enjoying a good bath, in the shower, or just being able to just sit in the toilet for a second with the door closed, and just, this is my alone time. Taking those little moments throughout your day. What are some areas to improve? What are some areas that you did really well this year? What are those external stressors that really kind of trigger maybe some of your symptoms? And talking to a healthcare professional and or therapist of what are some tools and techniques that I can maybe implement and individualize for my lifestyle for active stress management, so that these symptoms can be well managed and at bay for you going into the next year. So I'm really excited to end this year off on a good note, and I wish everyone out there the best. And here we are going into 2026. Let's make this the best year yet. And feel free to reach out with any questions or any potential topics you guys want to hear about in 2026. I am more than happy to take on some newer topics or some popular questions out there. But let's end this year off on a good note, start the next one off on a better note. And for all of those, thank you so much for listening and supporting me here, and to wishing everybody the best in optimal pelvic and lymphatic health. Until next time.
Thank you all so much for listening to North Star Physical Therapy Podcast. Continue to follow me on Facebook or Instagram at Dr. Shirlea North. Check out my website at www.northstardpt.com, or I encourage you to email me any other questions about these topics, and it can be featured at a future podcast at snorth@northstardpt.com. Again, thank you all so much, and thank you for letting North Star Physical Therapy be your guiding light to your optimal health.